welcome back to Poomsae with Master AJ. Today's video we're going to be talking about the scoring in Freestyle Poomsae. Freestyle Poomsae scoring is a lot different than recognized Poomsae. Freestyle Poomsae is based off of a 6.0 technical score and a 4.0 presentation score, which is different from what we see in recognized Poomsae. So today's video is going to be dedicated all to how it is scored. So I have my iPad out and I have the referee handbook pulled up. That way we can go over it by exactly what they say in the rulebook. Okay, so the technical skills in freestyle, like I said, are awarded 6 points. You have 1 point for each technical skill that is required. The technical skills are graded off of the level of difficulty and the height of each jump that you're doing. And then the last technical score is based off of the basic movement of your Poomsae, which we'll get into that a little bit later. In Freestyle Poomsae, there are 5 requirements that create your technical score, plus your Poomsae, which is your 6th requirement. Your 5 requirements must be completed in order. However, you can kind of add extras in the beginning just to make your presentation a little bit higher, but we'll get to that later. So your first requirement is flying side kick. Your second requirement is multiple kicks in a single jump. Your third requirement is gradient spins with a kick. Your fourth requirement is kyorugi style consecutive kicks. And your fifth requirement is your acrobatic kicking technique. Now remember, these 5 plus the basic Poomsae are going to create your 6.0 technical score. So there's 1 point awarded to each category. So as recognized, you have a 4.0 total score that you start with for accuracy, and deductions are made from that score. Freestyle is a little bit different. You have a 6.0 total score that you could possibly get, and you are awarded points based off of how well you do. So your points, while they're calculated during your performance, they're not based off of deductions. They're based off of an award system. So however well you do is how much points you can get. Whereas recognized, it's however bad you do is how many points get taken away from you. So it's important to know the difference between those. While you can accumulate deductions in freestyle, it's more reward-based and less deduction-based, which is different from recognized. Recognized, your technical score is deduction-based and your presentation score is award-based. Freestyle is more reward-based all the way around, but like I said, you can accumulate deductions. We'll get to that here in a little bit. So each requirement is based off of a 1-point scale. How high you jump, or how many times you spin, or how many kicks you can do is what is going to increase that score, because that increased your difficulty. For example, jumping sidekick is based off of the height of the jump and the performance level of the jumping sidekick. So how well is your leg extended and how high are you jumping? Deductions can be made if you miss the step on the landing and you don't have good balance. Multiple kicks in a jump. Points shall be awarded based on the performance level of the kicks and the number of kicks in the jump. So again, this means that they're looking for the knee chamber and the extension of your knees in order for it to count on your score, how well you're able to execute it. Gradient of turn in a spin kick. Points may be rewarded based on the number of degrees in a turn. For example, more than 180 degrees, more than 360 degrees, more than 540 degrees, and more than 720 degrees in spin kicks. This one you can get deductions if you under-rotate and you land too soon, or if you take off too late. You won't get quite as many points as you think you are. So it's important to make sure that you're practicing true to your gradient spin kick. You're not overstepping to where it looks like you're under-rotating, and you're also not landing and kicking on the ground. That can zero out your component. So you want to make sure that you're in the air when you're doing these things. Consecutive kicks. Points shall be awarded based on the mastery and performance level of kyorugi-style consecutive kicks in a row, and the number of consecutive kicks shall be limited from 3 to 5. So this specific requirement is pretty complicated in my opinion. We'll go through that here. For starters, your kyorugi-style kicks has to start with 3 bounces before you begin. So if you've watched any freestyle performance, you'll notice that we always bounce before we do our kicks. You have to do at least 3 bounces before you can either switch feet, step, slide back, scoot forward, or kick. That's important to know. So 3 bounces in your spot. Any less is going to incur in deduction. Any more than 5 is going to also incur in deduction. So you don't want that to happen. So my suggestion is to stick with 4 and go on your merry way into your kicks. Acrobatic kicking technique. Points shall be awarded based on the mastery and performance level of acrobatic kicking technique. So this is basically your round off flashes. The more flashes you do and the more stable you're landing, the higher your score will be. There's current debate on whether or not aerials count. Aerials, some judges will count them, some judges will not count them. It's really dependent on how well you can get that kick to clearly show. So that's really based on the athlete. Typically aerials, you don't really see the kick, so it's a little bit harder to score. So make sure that if you're doing an aerial, you're kicking it out all the way. But remember, that's only worth 1 point of your total score. So it's not a big deal if you choose not to aerial or choose not to do an acrobatic. Just understand that you're taking a significant hit in your score. Basic movements. Points may be added from 0 up to 1.0 for the accuracy in basic movements of Taekwondo and designated technical movements of Taekwondo. Whether the movements appear to be practicable, whether there is an appropriate connection between attacks and defenses, and whether the movements are in perfect harmony shall be the criteria for evaluating general performances of the freestyle Poomsae. So basically this component is just making sure that you're not doing nothing but neck chops your entire form. So make sure you throw a little block here and there. There are deductions in freestyle. It's really based off of your music, your landings, or your space-wise. 0.3 points shall be deducted from the final score in case the performance is finished earlier or later than the set contest time. So you have 90 to 100 seconds in your freestyle form. If you finish at 89 seconds or 101 seconds, you can get a 0.3 deduction. So my recommendation is to stick with like a 95-second range. That gives you plenty of wiggle room and avoids any error. 0.3 points shall be deducted from the final score if the contestant crosses the boundary line with 2 feet during the performance. At one point, it used to be if 1 foot goes out of line, you get a 0.1 deduction, but I'm pretty sure they did away with that. So now it's only if both of your feet cross that line. For individual and pairs, you have a 10 by 10 meter mat space area. For teams, the team of 5, you have a 12 by 12 meter mat space area. So make sure you know that dimension and you're practicing well within your dimensions so you don't get out of bound deductions. Okay, so your technical score is quite different for freestyle. It's a little bit harder to get higher points in this one because the judging is still very, very subjective and very new. So a lot of these judges aren't really sure what they're watching because they don't have a plan to see beforehand. So they're kind of seeing and trying to take everything in at the same time and judge you at the same time. Whereas in recognized, everyone knows the form. Everyone does the same pattern. So it's a lot easier to judge. In freestyle, I don't get to see your form beforehand, and I don't know what your level of difficulty is beforehand. So every time you compete, it's like a clean slate. I never know what you're going to do in terms of difficulty. So again, freestyle is still pretty new, and I hope this video helped you understand the technical side of freestyle and how that scoring works. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!